All right, we're at 2 minutes past the hour, so I'll go ahead and get started. I think most of you know me. I'm David Gee, Director of Procurement Systems and Technology from the Chancellor's Office. Welcome to the CSUBUY contracts training. Also from our team, we have Claire Smith from my office and Dwight Martin from the Project and Change Management Office. Dwight is the project lead for the CSU side. We also have our Rise Now implementation partners with us to do the training. Kurt Holton is the project manager from the Rise Now side, and he's going to kick off the training and introduce the Rise Now team. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Kurt.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to contracts training for CSU. Just going to have a couple slides I'll go through before we get started with the actual contracts walkthrough. We've got a few folks on the line from Rise Now. We got Chris Jones and Craig Doherty as our subject matter experts here that'll be walking us through the system. And we've also got, I think, Steffi and Beth maybe out there on the change management side who are putting together job aids and quick reference guides that we'll hear the word QRGs periodically. So I just want to give you a little more context about what we're going to go through today and then what to expect later. So what we'll do here is, like I said, I'll go a couple slides, give some brief background. Craig will walk through end-to-end through the contract system, show you what's been configured so far, how to create contracts that author, the review processes, etc. And then we'll wrap with some next steps and expectations for next week and go live. Again, here's the agenda. So one quick point we want to make is where does this sit in the overall framework? So probably a lot of you are familiar already using the Jagger Marketplace for P-card purchases through various internet suppliers. So that was phase one. Phase two, we're adding additional Jagger functionality, which includes contracts we'll focus on today, as well as sourcing and spend analytics. They'll be phased in over the next few weeks. CSUBUY is replacing the CalUsource today. CalUsource does go away at the end of the year, and then spend analytics will be coming out in mid-November. There is a phase three that's on the radar. That's being presented to the CABO for approval in January. So if that is approved, then we'll expand the Jagger functionality beyond contract sourcing and spend, and it'll become a full P2P system, including requisitioning, purchase orders, receiving, invoicing, etc. Some of the key benefits. So one of the main drivers after talking to initial user groups early on, I think one of the key dissatisfiers of CalUsource was searchability. So that's one of the areas of everything we set up so far. We've always kept a focus on, how does this improve and how does it enable better searching and availability of contracts. So in general, everyone's going to have access to contract system wide. You won't be able to, from a read-only perspective. There'll also be very easy to find designators on contracts that are system-wide versus single campus, or even there may be regional or multiple campus agreements. So now you'll be able to search very simply for those attributes. You can create custom searches. You can save them. You can do save searches, and we'll get into how you do that. We bring in the contract tool. It provides the ability to interact with both internal and external users to get feedback and input on legal documents in form of redlining and reviewing. So there's built-in functionality with the addition of a Microsoft Word plugin that will show you how to load up on your machine if all goes well. That allows users within the contracts module to review and see side-by-side changes and highlights of what's different in the agreements at different versions. We'll be using Adobe Sign for electronic signatures. There's also a concept of templates that you'll see. We don't have, we're not starting with any big library of templates. However, again, with our approach is to get core functionality out there, get the system up and running, and then over time we'll build out, more artifacts in there. So as we see campuses providing, if they have standard temps they're using or templates that can be adopted for other campuses, we can start loading those in as standard agreement templates so they can be leveraged and accelerate the process. The other key is just a new interface. So from what we've seen so far, we've gotten positive feedback that the interface and experience is an improvement over CalUsource. A couple things, what's been done and what's being developed. So like I said, for Monday, we'll go live with creation of basic contracts focused on goods and services, and in all likelihood, construction, public works. We have a couple small working groups that we've been working on to expand. So over the next couple of weeks, there'll be additional contract types out there and available for things like leases, student agreements, etc. We're also targeting getting IT contract types out there for next week as well. In the training here, we'll cover a list of contract types that we have, and we'll also review an e-signature is up and running. So what's still being developed? Like I said, we have additional templates and types, and those can be added at any time. And other identified items. So as we go through the system, you'll see some terms come up like obligations and clauses. Those are items that we can build up over time in various libraries so that it's pre-available for everyone to select and drag into your contracts. So now we will get in the system. So I'll turn it over to Craig Doherty out of Colorado. So he's a little closer. We got him out of Illinois, so he's a little closer. So we'll walk through end-to-end contracts. And then at the end, we should have, we'll talk about what we're doing next week, the support structure in place, and we should have some time for questions. And throughout the training, feel free to pop questions into the chat, and Chris and I and the rest of the team can answer those as we go. And then our change manager folks are consolidating all these responses throughout the week into FAQ documents that'll be available.
Thanks, Kurt. So yeah, my name is Craig Doherty. I am here to hopefully keep this as entertaining as possible. But let's get started. So hopefully this looks maybe a little bit familiar to you. I'm not sure, many of you probably haven't actually been in here at all yet, but if you have, maybe you're used to seeing this screen. This is my home screen. So I've set the contracts dashboard to be my home screen. So this is where I get taken to every time I come into Jagger. You might want to do this if you're mostly doing contracts rather than, say, purchasing or something like that. But you can always get here, even if this isn't your home screen, by going to the contracts home from the contracts flyout here on the left.
You'll see that Craig's got a lot more stuff on the left-hand side just because he's got an admin account set up. So your screen, the navigation items on the left-hand side, that Jagger calls that the flyout menu, you'll have less stuff.
Yep. So you probably see like the shopping cart and this piece of paper thing, and then this rosette ribbon deal, at least. But so we've got what we call widgets on our dashboard here. So this first widget is showing contract summary by contract manager. So I can kind of mess with these a little bit and see, all right, show me the contracts by status. Maybe I want all contracts. So gives me something a little bit more interesting. And then if I click on any of these bars, it will take me to the actual search results for whatever that bar was for, right? So these are all pending signature contracts. If I go back to my home, let's go what we could go by contract types. It's pretty cool. You can fiddle around with that a little bit. Down here a little bit lower, I have a widget for all of my contract alerts. So I can show the alerts for just my contracts or everybody's contracts, what the alert type is. So if it's expiring soon or recently expired, or just all of the things that have alerts coming up. I can filter by the contract type, and I can filter by what those alerts are for, 0 to 30 or 31 to 60 and 61 to 90 days. Up here a little higher, you can see we've got a contract search widget. So I could search directly from here. We'll see a couple of other places we can search from as well. And then we've got quick links here. So if I want to just create a new contract, I could do that directly from this quick links link. I can do an advanced contract search, see my saved searches, all sorts of fun stuff in there. So at this point, yeah, let's go through our next steps for what we're going to do before we really even get started with contract management. So you won't have to do this very often, but for me, I like to use the Jagger Word app. So in order to use that, I'm going to go to my profile, and then under User Profile and Preferences, go to App Activation Codes, and I need to add an activation code for Microsoft Word. So I could name this anything I want. I'm just going to name it my computer. If you had multiple computers that you were doing contract work on, you would need to set up an activation code for each computer. Since I am right here and I don't actually need to email that to myself, I'm just going to say no. I'm going to add that device, and then I'm going to grab that activation code. And at this point, I can close this and then open Microsoft Word. And we'll go with a blank document for now. But you can see up here, I already have the Word app installed. So I have the production environment with the red J, and then I have a gray icon for the test environment for the US. I have a third one because I also have European customers, but you can just ignore that one. In order for you to get this, you'll want to go to the store. Whoops, not that way. So go to the Microsoft Store for Office add-ins. And so we know that some campuses, users are having issues being able to get to the store and install the Word app. So if you are one of those people, please put something in the Zoom chat or email the team directly, and we'll figure it out. I think Dwight looks like he's
you can
about to say
email.
something.
You can email Dwight Martin, and I will work with you to see if we can get the issue resolved.
Cool, thanks, Dwight. So if I go to the Office add-ins and search for Jagger, you'll see we've got those 4 different Word app add-ins. So you're going to want the ones that don't have the little blue flag behind them. If you look really closely, it's the European flag. So you don't want either of those. You would want to add this one for the test environment with the gray J and the red J for the production environment. You'll need both of those. Once you have added that, you should see your little icon in the upper corner. And if I click on that, I am not that Craig Doherty. You should get a screen like this. So a place for you to add your activation code. So just paste that in there and activate. Now it's going to ask you for your password. So for me, it's just a local password. For you, it may be your SSO. We'll have to work on that depending on how you're authenticating. But for me, it's just the password I use to log into Jagger. So now I've got the Word app installed. And at this point, I can just close out of this. I don't need this now. All right. So now we're ready to create that contract. If you remember, we could create from here, from our quick links on the right-hand side, or we can go back to our flyout and go to contracts and create new contract. Takes you to the same place no matter what. So we're going to give this a good name. So something that is descriptive enough for you to see the name and know what the contract is for, and for others to know as well, right? So put something useful in there. And then we are going to choose our contract type. So if I just click in here, I'll see a list. I can also search in here, and it will show me whatever matches that. But if I'm not really sure what my contract type is, I can click on the magnifying glass over here on the right-hand side. Thanks, Nancy. I am not exactly sure what the menu app is, so if you want to hop off a mute, you can let me know. So if I click on the magnifying glass, I can hop in here and see all of the contract types that are available to me. I'm just going to choose services because I know there's a good template in here for that. So I've chosen services. It's automatically chosen my work group because, as many of you are, I am only in one work group, so it just automatically defaults that for me. If you're in multiple work groups, similar to the contract type list, you can click in here and it'll show you all the work groups that are available to you. So this is typically, so for CSU, this is like all of your campuses. So if you're affiliated with multiple campuses, you would see more than one in here. Main document template. So you may or may not want to use whatever this template is that shows up here. Depending on the contract type that you're using, you may not see any templates here. So for me, I chose a contract type that had this service agreement template in it. I don't need to choose it. I can upload my own template later in the process if I want to as well. But I'm going to use this template for now and create contract. All right, so I am now presented with the contract metadata, right? So I can see that contract name I put in here, my type, my work group, my parent contract. So I can search through here and find any contracts that are, maybe I have an MSA that is the parent for whatever this child contract would be. So if I click on that magnifying glass, I get some additional information, which should make it a little easier for me to figure out what my parent is if I have one. You don't need to choose a parent. We are going to use e-signature for this demo. We will come back and create another contract in which we don't use e-signature. But if you keep an eye down here, you see this e-signature section? If I say no and save my progress, that is obviously going to go away. So when we get there, you'll see what the e-signature setup is all about. Do you want to show it on the supplier portal? So if a supplier is on the Jagger supplier network, depending on the status of the contract, so if it's executed typically, they may or may not be able to see the contract depending on what I choose here, right? So our contract value, I'm just going to choose, say, $100,000. And then a summary. So I can put a summary of whatever this contract is for. So maybe it's IT support for the Sonoma campus or MS Office. So this is searchable. You can also see that we have some ability to put some like formatting in here. So, you know, you can do bullets, numbering, make it colorful, etc. You can put a table in, yeah. But again, this is all searchable too. So our contract parties, our first party is defaulting in there for us. If you need to change it, you can. You can remove the party, and then you can add another first party. We're just going to keep our first party because that's the one we want for this contract. Our second party is going to be whoever we're contracting with. So let's go find our second party. I know I'm contracting with Acme, let's say. Apparently I'm not. All right, so we're just gonna pick somebody from this list. Select our contracting party. You may or may not have a contact available in here. So you can choose that if there is one. And then the same thing with address. And if we move down to our dates and renewal section, so the Pacific time zone is going to default into here, but if for some reason you need to change it, certainly you can do that. Our start and end dates. So it's just a typical date chooser. So I can choose whatever my start date is going to be. Let's call it today. There's also a time chooser. So if I click on the little clock, I can choose exactly what time the contract is going to go into effect. Typically, I just leave it at midnight. I can choose whether or not the contract has an expiration date or not. So if I choose no expiration, my end date field actually goes away. But if I have expires on, that chooser comes back. So let's choose a date for the contract to end. Let's go to the next year, and we'll choose September 29th of next year. So keep on moving through our dates fields. We've got a review date field. So if I wanted to set up a date where I'm going to be prodded to come back in here and take another look at this contract, I can set that up here. There's a couple other ways to do this where I like it a little bit better. So you'll see that in obligations as well as the notifications section. So you can set up notifications to go out, 120 days from the end date, something like that. Review terms. So if you want to, let's say this is a 5-year contract and you want to set up reviews every year, you would be able to set let's do that. Let's go 2025. And we will start with next year, a year from now. I want to do my first review, and we're going to do every 1 year. I'm going to review it. 4 reviews remaining. So again, you don't have to use that. It's just a tool for depending on how you like to manage your contracts. Renewals works. Basically, you can choose whether or not you want to have renewals for this contract. So if it's going to renew every single year, but you want to be prompted to come in here and take a look at this contract every year, that's what we're going to do. So it renews every 1 year. Not sure that really makes sense with a 2025 expiration date, but all right. So once we're done with our dates section, we get into our general contract information. So our general services category, this is just a wide range chooser here. So I believe if you have a contract that does not fall into any of these categories, we are taking feedback and interested in your feedback for what should be added. We are gonna go with miscellaneous services, I suppose. So auxiliary stateside or both. I'm going to choose stateside. Is this a multi-campus agreement? So depending on what you choose here, you'll get an additional chooser here. And this is rendering a little funky because I have my screen blown way up, but should look a little nicer for you. So if I choose multi-campus, I can get a multi-select here, choose whichever campuses the agreement applies to. Is this small business or not? So again, if I say yes, I get additional fields showing up. If I say no, they go away. Is it a fixed fee or a rate contract? Let's see. Yep, depending on which ones, what I choose here, I get additional fields. So we'll say, whoops, not that much. Is travel included? Again, another radio button, the scope of work. So all of these fields will be available as placeholders when we get to actually editing our Word document for the agreement. And we'll see that in a few minutes. Our purchase order number, if you have one. So you can see if the field is not required, there's no star next to it. So I can leave that blank if I want to. Your accounting info,